What's up, everybody? Welcome back to part 2 of the Keto Rewind 90 Challenge. For those of you that are wondering what part 1 is, use the cards or use the link down in the description below, or just use my video I posted yesterday. But I'm doing a 90-day challenge where we're focusing on consistency and lifestyle. This is not a weight loss challenge, but if you do those two things, weight loss is going to come naturally, and you'll be in a beautiful bonus at the end of the day. But you cannot expect to get to your goals if you don't hash out consistency and lifestyle. So let's get started with part 2. So yesterday I talked about diets don't work. You've got to pick a lifestyle that resonates with you, that doesn't feel like a diet, and also the value of being consistent, showing up every day, and taking it day by day instead of just trying to just get there so fast that you don't have a chance to learn anything. So today's video is going to be about the food part of the equation. So I will say, after spending the last 2 years and 10 months in this journey, food is not the problem. It never was the problem. The problem is 3 things. First one is your relationship with food. The second one is your inconsistency with your food choices. And the third one is the obsession over food due to your extreme restriction. That's what derailed me this entire year. So let's dive into each one of those. So the first one, relationship with food. Extreme restriction of certain foods or demonizing of certain foods creates an unhealthy view of food and an unhealthy relationship with food. So for me, I restricted so much this past year that if I had a tomato, I was like, oh my God, there's carbs in the tomato. The tomatoes, I won't be in ketosis. And I was just like, I was stressing over the wrong thing. The tomato didn't get me to 309 pounds. The excessive processed foods that I was eating, prior to my weight loss transformation was excessive processed foods, not the tomato. Nobody ever gets fat from a tomato. Nobody gets fat from an onion. I was demonizing color of vegetables. Like if it wasn't green, and now looking back, how silly was that? All peppers are good. I mean, I will say, if you have like some people have like a nightshade allergy or sensitivity to like onions or peppers, that's a whole nother thing. But I'm saying in general, if you're not allergic to peppers or tomatoes or whatever the heck may be, a tomato is good for you. A pepper is good for you, regardless of the color of the tomato or pepper. So we're demonizing the wrong things, and it's sad because there were so many comments. When I like peppers, I'll make recipes. Haters on my channel be like, why is she using a red pepper? Too many carbs in that. Or why are you using a yellow onion? White onions have less carbs. I'm like, how much difference really is it between a white onion and a yellow onion? The onion's not what made me fat. Excessive overeating made me fat. It was not the onion. So the food isn't the problem, but what we do with that food is the problem. So the quantity, how much, those are more of a problem than the actual food. One bag of potato chips, while not the best nutritional food, one bag is not what makes you 309 pounds. Eating 400 bags is the problem, you know what I mean? So, and also this thing where complex carbohydrates, the carbohydrates that release slower in your body, that stay with you longer, those ones are feared. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you'd have a bean. Beans and legumes don't make you fat. Excessive beans and legumes would make you fat. So, demonizing foods in general, we need to change that relationship. We need to focus on frequency, consistency, and quantity of those foods. Above all, processed foods, all processed foods, or fast foods. If it, like the carbohydrates, where they simple carbohydrates, they spike your insulin really fast and then you crash. And then it repeats the vicious cycle. Now you want more, now you're hungry, so you go eat more and you spike it again. I want to focus on avoiding those foods. And for me, in my challenge, I'm staying away from refined grains, refined oils, wheat, gluten, excessive sugar, just sugar in general. I mean, even if I was never keto, I would still pick the keto sweeteners. I do enjoy them. But our anger should be aimed towards those processed foods that don't even resemble what they started like in the field and now on your plate. Like they're just full of all the crap. They completely lack nutrition, and they are just going to trigger you into the cycle. So if you can do anything, avoid processed foods. It doesn't matter what lifestyle you're on. Processed foods, the processed foods in that lifestyle. When you look down in your plate, I expect to see a plate full of color. A nice healthy serving of protein, a nice serving of your leafy green vegetables that are colorful and include all colors, not just green, red, purple, like orange, good fats, and a little bit of good complex carbohydrates. That, it's just satisfying, and you finish your food and you don't want more because you got something that was delicious. When I got to the point where I figured out keto wasn't working for me anymore, after I'd finished a meal, I would look into the pantry and I would want more. I need something, I need something on top of that. Switching to low carb, I stopped doing that and didn't even realize I was doing that in the first place, because I would be like, I didn't eat any dessert. I didn't need something after my meal. It's because I was satisfied. So when you feel satisfied, it doesn't feel like a diet and you can stick with it. And the goal here is to make this a lifestyle that you stick to. So that's the relationship with food. The next one is the inconsistency regarding your food choices. You can't expect to lose weight and eat like crap. If you have a diet full of processed foods that you're not even making any of your own foods, and you're just relying on someone else's packaging and honesty, you can't expect to lose weight that way. You've got to take ownership of your food. And that means I would avoid eating out. You cannot control what somebody else puts in your food unless you make your food yourself. And that's something that you can not only save money, but you can see what's going to be in your food, and what's supposed to be there is there. And then also the thing that I was just, all year I struggled with this. I would do great Monday through Friday, and Friday comes and it's time to party, and it's like, oh, I would do so good for 5 days and I'd fail for 2. Well, I didn't fail, but you know what I mean? Like I would just squash the progress I did for 5 days in just 2 days. So I did that over and over and over again. And then Monday would come around, I'm back on it, and it's like, dang it. So you can't expect to lose weight if you're not consistent. And I'm also guilty of this one. You can't out-exercise poor food choices. I would be like, oh, I'm gonna I'll have Mexican food. And then I'd go walk 10 miles to think I could fix it. It doesn't work that way. It's not sustainable. You cannot out-exercise poor food choices. All right, so the next thing of my point is the obsession with food. I like to refer to my sugar cravings as like a food ghost. I know that sounds crazy, and yeah, I am probably crazy, but my food ghost is my sugar addiction. It's like always lurking, and when I am ignoring it, it just comes out stronger, or it's more noticeable, and it's like it's always there. Can't seem to get rid of it. It's always lurking. So, my food ghost shows up at the most inconvenient times too. I'm stressed. I'm upset, I'm, whatever. That food ghost is back there like this at that point, So, and it's not until I deal with it that the food ghost goes away. So I have found ways that I've been using to deal with that, and we'll get to those next. But I'm saying if I don't deal with that food craving, if I don't deal with that food ghost, it doesn't go away. It just gets stronger. And that's that obsession with food where you're like, okay, what's the next meal? What do I got to do here? Is there too many carbs in that? Is there too much fat in there? There's too much. And it's like your obsession with the restriction it's just constantly there. And I find that the more restriction that I put on myself, the louder and more frequent that dang ghost visits me. So I found that I was so restricted that all I could think about when I unwound or took that restriction off myself was to jump off the cliff and have all the food. I needed to find a way to rein that in, because that was not an issue I initially had when I was 309 pounds. I ate big meals or whatever, but I never had the obsession or whatever. I just ate like crap, but I didn't exercise, and I just didn't care, you know. But now all of a sudden it's like, food's on my mind all the time. So to get that food off your mind, you have to deal with it. And it's like, ugh. And it doesn't go away until you do. So I did find that by changing the relationship of the food, you can make some progress. So what I mean by that is, like, you can't blame the bag of chips. You have to blame how you view the chips. What do I mean by that? Well, we don't eat soap. 'Cause why? We know soap is toxic. If you ate, I suppose you could get like one of those green ones that are all natural, but I'm saying a bar of Irish Spring soap. We know not to eat that. Why? Because there's research that shows that we can't eat soap. There's warning labels. There's, like, it's not food. There's no nutrition. Like, we know not to eat soap. So why, that's the thing I'm talking about. So yes, chips, there's no nutrition in chips. Why do we not eat the chips? And you need to educate yourself reasons why, so that those chips are something you're like, well, we don't eat chips. It's that simple. So what you need to do is you need to change your relationship with the foods that trigger you. If they are something that completely impedes your weight loss, you need to research those foods and find out why are those bad foods, why there's no nutrition. You've got to give yourself more than no. If you say no, you just want it more. Explore and do some research. Get some concrete data. Maybe those foods aren't as bad as you think they are, but you won't know unless you research them. And that's going to vary person to person. Do your own research. Change that relationship of how you view that bag of chips. That one bag of chips did not make you fat, but excessively eating those bags of chips in enormous quantities is what made you fat. But how do you change that relationship to not view the chips as like the demon, and focus on the quantity, frequency, and those types of things instead? So the next topic is find your release. When the food ghost is lurking back there, remember I said it doesn't go away until I deal with it? Well, these are the things that I do to release that. It has to come out somehow. So I move my body. And obviously that's self-explanatory. I go for walks. I love walking. I get my steps in, I aim for like 10,000 steps a day. That's a good day. But I have congestive heart failure. So the million times I'd be like, I want to go run. Well, my cardiologist is like, no, you can't run. It's stressful on your heart. But you can walk. So instead of saying or approaching it and going, I can't. Well, yeah, I can't run, but I also can walk though, which there's not a big difference between walking and running. One's just a little bit more stressful or taxing on the heart. The other one, is not, but the job still gets done and my head clears. You know what I mean? So instead of saying, oh, I have a bad knees or bad walk, a bad back, well, what about swimming? What about yoga? Something where you don't need to jump up and down, So instead of initially saying, well, I can't, find something else that you can do and be creative. And also find something that's fun. I told you guys I joined an adult softball league with my husband, a co-ed adult softball league. We had games, we had practices, we had so much fun. And by the end of the season, it didn't hurt to run the bases anymore, So, but it was fun. It was something new. It was something I could do with my husband. It got me off of obsessing about the food in the pantry. So it just gives you that release. So I would obviously invest in some type of fitness equipment, join a gym, go for that walk, whatever it may be, but move your body. Now, it doesn't always have to be physical. There's also lots of things that give you that release without moving your body. And we're after the release. We're after that de-stress. So take up a new hobby, like maybe read a book. I think this year I'm going to set a goal to read a book. I have such a crazy schedule, but I haven't read a book and sat down and got lost into a story in years. So I'm going to try and read books this year. Take a class. I want to try to learn how to edit videos. Like, I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to Photoshop. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. My videos are what you see is what you get. So I should probably step up my video editing game since I'm a real YouTuber, you know? You know, it's like I'm the raw real deal here, so I don't know. But I should make that effort, so maybe I'll take a class. Journal your thoughts. That helps get that release out. So maybe when you go back and say, well, I had a good day, what did I do on a good day? Oh, this was a bad day. Well, what was happening then? So you can refresh and you can come up with your own plan. Or the last and most obvious thing, talk to a professional. Sometimes your problems are deeper than what a YouTube channel could fix. Maybe talking to a professional was obviously the best choice. You know what I mean? So I can't give medical advice, but a medical professional could. So I hope that all makes sense. That is the overview of the Rewind 90 Challenge. Now, I'm going to be posting a lot about all of these topics individually throughout the 90-day challenge. But I wanted you to have the overview and realize it's not a weight loss challenge. It's a consistency challenge and a lifestyle challenge. Everything else will fall into place if you can tackle those two things. So I know I want to get to my goal weight of 179 pounds. And I will get there, but I need to show up every day. I need to be consistent, and I need to pick a lifestyle that worked. And as a big thank you for those of you that have been watching this video to the end, I'm going to announce the name of my YouTube channel. So I thought it wouldn't be right if somebody came to my channel for keto advice and I posted low carb or, you know, something else that wasn't keto. So I was like, okay, so what do I do if I want to post a recipe or a day of eating in low carb, you know, and maybe a bean or some quinoa would trigger you. So I don't want to do that. I know how that feels. Like I don't want to do that to you guys. So I thought, well, I'll create a separate channel and I'll put that stuff there. So, so I named my channel Overactive Fork. Now, I named it Overactive Fork because that is the problem. I eat too much. I don't eat the right foods. And I was not consistent. It's not the food's problem. It's the fork's problem. So to own that whole thing, I have an overactive fork. And I can't blame my health problems. I can't blame my obesity on health problems. I can't blame my obesity on age. I can't blame my obesity on a certain food. I can't blame my obesity on some life event. I can blame my obesity by my overactive fork. So I hope that makes sense. It's so fun. It's not meant to be, it's meant to be funny. Because I deal with life with humor. So anyways, if you want to see what I'm eating and the actual foods that I'm eating through this challenge, you'll have to go over there to see that content. So I hope to see you there. But that way, real quick, that doesn't mean my keto channel's done. I'm just not posting anything that's not keto on my keto channel. I hope that makes sense. So Keto Rewind is still going to be going, but the details and the other things that are not keto will be on a separate channel, and I feel that's fair. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm excited. We will get into all of these topics soon. I'm Jess. You're watching Keto Rewind. Like and subscribe.